All right, so the first part of the series for the 7 habits of highly effective people, the number one habit or the first habit is to be proactive. So, in this definition that they're using, it's not proactive like, before something happens, you do something, before it, if it's supposed to snow, like getting the gas for the snowblower. It doesn't mean that. It's actually having the control over your actions, emotions, and reactions. And what I mean by this is just say you keep on losing jobs to another company, right? The easy way is to blame that other company and accuse them of, bad mouthing you or dropping the prices or whatever it may be. Or you can decide to accept that they are winning your customers for whatever reason. Maybe their pricing's better, but that could be they're not trying to undercut you. Maybe it's because their overhead is less than you. Maybe they're able to turn around the jobs quicker. So if you factor in being like a 5-day job and you need to make $1,000 a day, so you're basically $5,000, but they can turn it around in 2 or 3 days because they either have more staff or they're just more efficient or whatever it may be. So you can accept to realize that they may just be a better company. You can also accept and realize that maybe they have a better sales process. Maybe it's taking you multiple days to get out to there while they're able to get out to the job immediately. Or maybe they have people in the office so that way they have better communication. Or maybe they're just a better salesperson in general. So this again is to be proactive. It's to stop putting the blame on other people and realizing that you have control over the situation. You have control over your actions, emotions, and reactions to whatever's going on in your life. A good example is if you ever heard the story of Viktor Frankl. So he was a Jewish psychologist back when he was locked in the concentration camps and things like that. And he realized that, even though they took away everything, whether it's clothes, food, family, whatever, subjected him to daily, beatings and lashings and, whatever kind of abuse and everything else, he still realized or found that he had control over his emotions and the responses to what was going on. It was basically like he said, it was this last of his freedoms that they simply couldn't take away. And this is super important in your business because running a business, it's super tough. Like there's constant things going on. Things could be going well for a little while, but then basically it starts raining. So there's these little issues that come up. And then they typically seem to happen like issue after issue after issue. And the next thing you know, something blows up in your face. And, what ends up transpiring is a direct reflection of how you handle that situation. Because it could be something small that happens. And instead of putting the blame on someone else and letting these things keep building and building and building, you can realize that if you have, just say, an issue with your employee, that it may not just be the issue with the employee, but it may be an issue of how you are working with that employee. Maybe you're just a shitty boss and you're flipping out, or you're not treating them with respect or having them buy into the company. And instead, and what happens because of that is they're showing up late, they're not doing the work that they should be, they're not as efficient as they should be. Things that should take an hour are taking like 3 hours just because they don't care. And again, instead of, putting the blame all on that employee, you have to look back and see what you could be doing differently. I just came across this situation myself. It's the reason why I'm rereading this book, along with other leadership books, is I realized that I am not doing a good enough job as an owner. I always put on these channels that I am looking to grow a business that doesn't require any really interaction from myself. The problem with that thinking right now for me is I don't have someone to take the place of it. I don't have the CEO or basically the cheerleader to basically motivate everyone within this business. So instead of, having someone to motivate the other people and basically a captain to steer the ship. I was trying to be more offhanded, and it's like running a ship without a captain. Like, it just doesn't work. Can it still sail? Yeah. Is it going to get to where it's supposed to be? No. At the end of this trip, are you still going to have a lot of the sailors and everything else? No, they're going to be pissed off, and because you took way too long and everything else, like, there's a good chance they might be dead. So there, and also with an employee, and this is where this all came about, is, this employee, she's pregnant, and there was a lot of changes within the business. We had lost some staff, and I'm putting everything on her thinking that she could handle it. And before, she probably could handle it, but because of being pregnant and everything else, what ended up happening is I was putting too much stress on her. And I was starting to chalk her up as like she didn't care, and she was just over the job and stuff like that. But in reality, what was happening wasn't because of her. It was because of me. I was putting too much pressure. I was not being the leader that I was supposed to be. So once I realized that, I took when you start or stop allowing people to affect how you act or respond or think, it starts to give you the power back. Because when an employee is pissing you off and you're getting upset or flipping out or throwing stuff or whatever, you're giving all the power to that employee. But if you're able to start controlling or start realizing that it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside world, again, going back to Viktor Frankl, he was going through, these atrocities that we can't even begin to imagine. And yet he realized that he has control over how he responds to what's going on. But yet, as business owners, we allow ourselves to get upset and everything else. But we have to realize that just because something happens, just because A happens doesn't mean your B reaction needs to take place. It doesn't mean, this happens, so I get upset. It could be this happens, and then you have to basically reflect on why that situation happened. So that way you can begin to make those adjustments and changes, whether it's within yourself, your business, or your employees, to basically correct that issue. So again, this is part one. It's super important because, again, when you stop putting the blame on other people, instead realize that you can, control your response and your actions from these different situations. That's where you give yourself the power back, and that's where you can start to make the change to improve yourself and your business. And because of that, you can live a much better life, not just for yourself, but for your family as well, and also for your employees. So anyway, I hope you like this. Stay tuned. The next video is going to be on principle number 2 for the 7 habits of highly effective people. Again, it's a super great book. If you have not listened to it or read it, I would definitely suggest doing that. It is dry in some parts, but like any book, to get through the different gems, it's worth the journey. So anyway, hope you have an awesome day. Talk to you soon. Bye.